ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم says لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طلق. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم tells us, don't ever belittle any good deed. Any good deed that you do, never belittle it. Even if it's just meeting your brother with a smiling face. Today I'd like to talk about the importance of appreciating and never belittling any small deed that you do. In this particular hadith, the Prophet ﷺ uses the word ma'ruf. Ma'ruf is a beautiful term. It comes from Arafah, to know, as in ma'ruf is a good that is a known good. It's an obvious good. And it's not limited to deen. What do I mean by this? That yes, you should never belittle any good deed, whether it be a small dua you make when you're in traffic, whether it be a small good deed like reading a few ayat of the Quran. Never belittle that. You never know how great that is in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never belittle even a few kind words of encouragement that you give to your brother or to your sister. When you encourage them and tell them to be, come to the masjid. Send them a motivational quote, something that will uplift them. You never know, it just might be the key that unlocks their heart and that changes, their whole life around. You never know. And that's in terms of deen. But the word ma'ruf can encompass any kind of good. Let's say, for example, your health. Never belittle a good deed, leaving off that extra cookie, or putting off that extra slice of cake, or whether it be, picking up something healthy to eat, eating that fruit or vegetable. Never belittle that, because you never know how big of an effect it can have long term down the line. When it comes to your wealth, when it comes to even saving $1, don't belittle that. Even if it's, I made a little bit of savings. Some people say, who cares, just spend it extra. No, that's okay, it's good. It's good that you found that extra little deal. It's good that you saved that little bit of money. Why? Because you should never belittle any kind of ma'ruf. Whether it be in the religious realm, the physical health realm, whether it be in the financial realm, or whether it be in the social realm, any small kindness. Anytime you have the chance to tell somebody, I really believe in you, one day you're going to do great. Do you know how many times people talk about how, I was down on myself, I never believed in myself, I never thought I'd make anything of myself, and then one person told me one small word of kindness and it changed everything for me. I actually started to believe in myself. That person, maybe years go by, they don't even remember they said those words. They don't even remember they said the words of encouragement. And yet that person who received it, they're always remembering. And they said, you changed my life. 10 years ago you said one nice word. It made a difference for me. Let's never belittle that small deed. Never belittle just sending somebody a text message. Hey, did you get home okay? Hey, are you alright? You looked a little bit upset. Is everything alright? Something bothering you? Just recently, alhamdulillah, I did that. Somebody was not being very social. Just sort of kind of staying away from everyone. So I said to him, hey, you haven't said anything in a long time. I haven't heard anything from you in a while. I just want to make sure everything's okay. The brother was fine, alhamdulillah. But the amount, I could hear it in his voice, the amount of appreciation he had. He was so grateful that somebody noticed that I've been a bit absent, I've been a bit busy. I've been trying to, stick to myself and be a little bit more focused. He felt so grateful because of such a tiny deed. Just sending a message, hey, is everything all right? Is everything okay with you? Just want to make sure that you're not upset. Let's never belittle these small deeds. I remember it was 2 years ago, subhanAllah, still 2 years later, I'm still remembering this. There was a beautiful brother from Saudi in Malaysia. When I was studying in Malaysia, there was another brother from Saudi, Muhammad al-Tamimi, beautiful brother. Always meets you with a big smile, always is so positive. I remember I was walking out of the masjid one day, from our school. We have a very big masjid in the center of it. As I'm walking out, he's walking in. Kayfa halak? Big smile on his face. How are you? I said, Alhamdulillah, Jayyid. He goes, Jayyid, jiddan, or mumtaz. He says, good, very good, or excellent. So it made me laugh and I said, alhamdulillah, mumtaz. Alhamdulillah, I'm excellent. He said, okay, alhamdulillah, mumtaz. And then he walked away. That's it. I still remember that till this day. Just because of his vibe, just because of how positive he was. He wasn't satisfied with me saying, alhamdulillah, I'm good. He says, good, very good, or excellent. I said, I'm excellent. He says, okay, good. And I walked away feeling like I was walking on clouds. Feeling like I just, he changed my whole day around. Just how long did it take him? Maybe 2 seconds of his day. But that small deed, I still remember it till today. That was at least 2 years ago. So we should always remember to do even the smallest kindness. We know that the believer his heart is always between hope and fear. Right? The believer's heart should always be, Ibn al-Qayyim, he gives a nice analogy. He says, your heart is like a bird that is, the head of it is Iman, and that Iman is balanced with the 2 wings, hope and fear. And obviously a bird can't fly with 1 wing. And so that's what balances the bird, and that's what lets the bird go forward. And so in the same way, your Iman should grow and develop always between hope and fear. Not being too hopeful, because then that makes you arrogant. Oh, God's going to forgive me, God's going to give me paradise, God's going to give me whatever I want. That becomes now disrespectful and arrogant. And obviously not too much fear where you become paralyzed with fear. Right? So, everything I do, I know I'm going to go to hell and I'm the worst person, and you become paralyzed with fear. So you have to have that balance between hope and fear. Every believer's heart should be between these 2 things. So when it comes to fear, the Prophet ﷺ says, what? اتَّقُوا النَّارِ وَلَوْ بِشِقِّ تَمْرَةٍ. That fear, protect yourself from the fire, even if it's with half of a date. Half of a date would be like equivalent to like a quarter. Imagine, even if you have just a quarter in your pocket, use that to protect yourself from the fire. And then the Prophet ﷺ says, even if you don't have that, فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ, and if you can't find that, then what? فَبِكَلِمَةٍ طَيِّبَةٍ, then with a kind word. No matter what it may be, save yourself from the fire. You never know. Maybe Allah's mercy is very close, but you need something to tip the scale. You don't want the punishment of Allah. You never know what deed might tip the scale into your favor. And so you want Allah's mercy, always tell yourself that this might be the thing that saves me. This might be the deed that changes everything for me. Take every opportunity, as even the smallest thing, never belittle it. We know that's in terms of fear. What about in terms of hope? Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, he says something very beautiful. رُبَّ عَمَلٍ صَغِيرٍ تُعَظِّمُهُ النِّيَّةِ وَرُبَّ عَمَلٍ كَبِيرٍ تُصَغِّرُهُ النِّيَّةِ. Abdullah ibn Mubarak has a beautiful quote. He says, it's possible that there's a small deed that is magnified by your niyyah, by your intent. And it's also possible that there's a great deed that is minimized by its intent. So don't look at the deed itself, look at the intention behind it. Right? So if somebody does a great deed and gives thousands of dollars in charity, but his intention was to show off, obviously that is now minimizing that deed because of the intent behind it. But the flip side is also true. Maybe you only give $1 in charity. Maybe you just say a kind word. Maybe you do something small. Maybe you just make dua for a few moments. Maybe you just ask Allah to forgive you just for a second. It just takes a second of your time. But because you were not thinking about the greatness of the deed, because the deed was small, rather you were thinking about the greatness of Allah in your heart. Rather you're thinking about the greatness of the one you're doing it for. That is what is preoccupying you. That is what is your focus. How great Allah is, not how small the deed is. Because you have that focus, then that's what makes it so great. That's what changes that deed from a small deed into an extremely great deed. That's what makes it so big. As the Prophet ﷺ says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ أَجْسَادِكُمْ وَلَا إِلَىٰ صُوَرِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ. That the Prophet ﷺ says in Sahih Muslim, Allah does not look at your bodies or at your forms or your figures. What does Allah look at? Allah looks at your heart. So it's not about the type of effect you made in the dunya or what type of effect that it had. What was the intention that was done with this deed? That is what counts. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that on the day of judgment, whatever you have in dunya doesn't matter. Whatever you did in dunya doesn't matter. What happened? What was the state of your heart? How it affected your heart? That is what matters on judgment day, and that's what's going to be judged on judgment day. There's a very famous expression amongst the Arabs. It's quite a funny expression. It says, لَا تَحْقِرَنَّ صَغِيرًا فِي مُخَاصَمَةٍ إِنَّ الْبَعُوضَةَ تُدْمِي مُقْلَةَ الْأَسَدِ. I'm sure those who speak Arabic are familiar with this expression. It's a very funny expression. It says, don't look at the little guy in a fight. You know, when there's two sides that are fighting, and you look at the small guy and you kind of belittle him, like, what's this guy going to do? Never belittle the small guy in a fight. Why? Because even the ba'uda, even the mosquito can make the eyeball of the lion bleed. You know, because he can go right in the eye and then affect him. So it's basically saying that even the smallest thing can have a big effect. What does this mean in terms of the context of this talk? What I mean to say is what? That you never know. Maybe you did a small deed, but it completely foiled the plot of shaitan. You have no idea. Maybe shaitan was working on somebody for years and years, trying to make sure this person becomes worse and worse and more wretched and more wretched. And then you say one simple word, and that changes that person's perspective, and then all of the plots of shaitan completely fall apart. Why? Because now you made the person wake up. One little word woke the person up. You have no idea. So never belittle, because maybe that one word will make the absolute difference. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful that even small acts of kindness may make the biggest difference. The Prophet ﷺ was once seen by a man named Al-Aqra' ibn Habis. This man, Al-Aqra' ibn Habis, he saw that the Prophet ﷺ gave a kiss to Al-Hasan. And when he gave this kiss to Al-Hasan, he said braggingly, he said, "Inna li 'asharatan min al-waladi ma qabbaltu wahidan minhum." He says like a big tough guy. He goes, "I have 10 sons and I've never given a single one of them a kiss." What was he trying to say? He was trying to brag that a real man doesn't show emotion. A real man doesn't show any sort of affection. I'm a real man. I never even gave a kiss to my kids, and I have 10 boys. And so the Prophet ﷺ really said something that is a wake-up call. It's a real hit. It's a real wake-up call. The Prophet ﷺ said in response, "Innahu man la yarham la yurham." The one who does not show mercy will not be shown any mercy. Man la yarham la yurham. The one who does not show mercy will not be shown mercy. So what is this saying? That subhanAllah, you can be shown mercy even if you just give a kiss to your own grandson. SubhanAllah, you can earn the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by being merciful to your own grandkids. What is more natural for a grandfather than to give kisses and to show affection, to show love? This is not hard, this is not difficult, there's no strain or effort in that. It's the most natural thing, and yet even in that, even in showing mercy to your own grandchildren, the Prophet ﷺ is saying this is showing mercy, and because of that, Allah may show you indeed mercy as a result of that. So never belittle even the smallest deed, even the most natural deed, even the most easy deed. The deed of like giving a kiss to your grandson. Something so sweet, something so natural, even that may be a cause of mercy that can come to you. And also another lesson that we need to learn from this, that showing no emotion, showing zero emotion is not cool, is not tough, and is not impressive in any way. And this is something that perhaps does not affect the adults, but definitely the adolescents, the young people in the room who think it's really cool to act like they care about nothing. What do you want to study? I don't know, I don't care. What do you think about this? What do you think? I don't know, I don't care. This is a very typical thing that young people go through. They go through this I don't care phase where they want to act rebellious and act like they care about absolutely nothing. This is a beautiful hadith saying acting like you don't care is not cool whatsoever. Why? Man la yarham la yurham. Because if you don't show care and mercy and love and affection, then you'll be shown none as well. So in that same way, you should not think it's impressive in any way to act like you care about nothing. Another lesson that we need to learn is what? Why do some people neglect the small deeds? Why is it that some people leave off the small things? Because some people have a quality called being a perfectionist. They have this obsession with perfectionism. So I'm not going to do something small, I'm going to wait till it's great. I'm going to wait till it's perfect. I'm going to wait until I have the best deed, and then I will act. If you want, you can go online and search the extremely large correlation between perfectionism and procrastination. Procrastination, at-taswif. Taswif, to put things off, to procrastinate. People who are big perfectionists usually are the biggest procrastinators. Why? As the expression goes, a good plan today is better than the perfect plan tomorrow. Sometimes you just have to get it done. Even if you think to yourself, no, I'm going to keep putting it off till it's perfect. No, that's a bad idea. Sometimes you just have to go forward with whatever you have. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Infiru khifafan wa thiqalan." Go forward, whether you're light or heavy. Why? Because sometimes you just got to go forward. Sometimes, this is in the context of battle, but whether it be in battle or in otherwise, sometimes you have to just move forward in life. You can't keep telling yourself, I'll wait till the perfect moment. Don't. Even if what you're going to put forward is small, even if it's insignificant, do the deed. Do it. Why? Because don't belittle the small deeds. Never belittle even if you do something small. We should remember, inshallah, we'll continue in the second half of the khutbah. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam kathira. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam wa man walah amma ba'd. The greatness of a deed is not necessarily dependent upon how big the deed was, rather how consistent it is. This is another factor. Don't look at how big the deed is, look at how consistent you are. You might give $1 a week to the masjid, but because it's every week, that builds up. So never belittle even the small deed, especially if it's consistent. The Prophet ﷺ says, أَحَبُّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى أَدْوَمُهَا وَإِنْ قَلَّ. That the most beloved deeds, the most beloved, that's very important. The most beloved deeds are the consistent ones, even if they're small. So if we want to do the things that are most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we want to be consistent, even if we're doing something small. We need to keep in mind that anybody who becomes a professional in any field usually takes around a decade. Right? Usually somewhere between your 20s and your 30s, most people, they focus on their bachelor's, their master's, their PhD. It usually takes roughly a decade, that the entirety of their 20s, it usually takes to become a professional in any field that they want. That is generally the case, generally speaking. So if that is the case, does that mean that for 10 years they were just 100% focused on nothing else? No. What it means is that for 10 years they took small baby steps consistently. It was a bunch of small victories over and over again every single day, making a small accomplishment over 10 years, and now you're a professional. If that is the case in terms of dunya, then of course that is the case when it comes to your heart, when it comes to your soul, your ruh, your spirituality, when it comes to perfecting your character, when it comes to all of these other matters, that is also the case. We should never think that that is the case in dunya, and therefore, no, I can become a professional, by doing one big deed, one big blowout, one time, and then I'm a righteous person. It doesn't work like that. Just the same way you have to work small and consistent to become professional in anything in life, in this dunya, that's the same thing when it comes to your ruh. That's the same thing when it comes to your heart, when it comes to your soul. So we need to think of it in the same terms. That I need to work on myself. I need to become a better person, small and consistent steps. Some people, unfortunately, they see somebody who is a professional in something, and they say, I'm going to try that, and if I'm a professional, then I'll continue. If not, I'm going to quit. Do you really think you can watch the NBA, and then go outside 5 minutes later, and then dunk like they dunk, and shoot like they shoot, and so on and so forth? Do you think you could be just like a sports star, and then say, I'm not a professional, therefore I'm going to quit? That's a rotten attitude. You should recognize that, I might only watch the highlights of these professionals on television or on YouTube or whatever it may be. But the reality is what? That what I'm not watching, what I'm not seeing, is the countless hours of them shooting and missing, the countless hours of them trying and failing over and over and over again, and still waking up early and still working hard. That's what it took to get to that point. Just because you only watch a 2-minute clip of their highlights doesn't mean that's all it took. Don't ever be deceived. So always remember that any professional in anything has taken countless hours to get there, and so you need to do the same thing as well. The Prophet ﷺ says, إِكْلَفُوا مِنَ الْأَعْمَالِ مَا تُطِيقُونَ. Only take upon yourselves the deeds which are within your ability. Only try to work within your ability. Even if your ability is small, you have to have the humility to recognize that you're not a professional yet, that you can't jump from 0 to 100 yet, that you have to stumble at the small things, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Always remember that when Allah wants greatness from you, He starts you out on the small things to see how you're going to handle it. Remember this. You might be saying to yourself, why am I stuck in some small position? Why am I, doing this minimal work? Why am I stuck in a job that I don't like? Why is it that I can't move forward? I can't raise myself up higher and get to that next level? Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making sure that the groundwork is there. Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making sure that you build that groundwork. Why? Because only once that groundwork, that foundation has been laid, then you will be able to build your building. You can't just start building immediately. So every single day that you're getting up and going to a job that perhaps you think is not worth your time, or working on something and thinking, why am I studying this? I'm just wasting my time. This is not useful. Recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is building you for something great. If you are patient, if you are consistent, if you never belittle those small deeds, if you keep working at those small deeds, then know that that is building you up. Inshallah ta'ala, one day that skyscraper is going to be built. But right now you're just focused on digging deeper and building that foundation. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that. There's no frustration in that. As long as you have the right attitude, and as long as you trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is truly building you up to something great. That is the attitude that you should have. Because passing all of those small tests may elevate you higher than you've ever dreamed possible. But you have to pass the small tests first. That is necessary. You have to first pass all those small tests. You have to trust in the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe your capacity right now is not at that level. I remember a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, I was in Dallas and I was spending some time with Sheikh Yasser Birjaz, who is, mashallah, tabarakallah, just an amazing sheikh, an amazing human being. And he said to me some words of wisdom that I very much appreciated. I was sitting with him And I don't remember what exactly the conversation was, but I mentioned how I was feeling very ready and eager to have a big effect and to, lecture and to give talks on a bigger capacity. And I wanted to have a good influence. I wanted to have a big impact. And he was telling me, he said, appreciate the time that you are a student. Enjoy this right now. Why? Because you as a student, you don't have people calling you saying, please come to this city and fly to that city and please do this and please do that. You don't have all these people asking you to do this stuff. Right now, you're just a student. Nobody knows who you are, and it's beautiful. You know why? Because you get to really immerse yourself in your books. You get to really sit and learn and enjoy the knowledge that you get to take in. And trust me, when the day comes, and alhamdulillah, he said to me some words of encouragement. Inshallah, the day will come. But when that day comes, that you are being called to this, that, and the other, and people are asking you to give lectures in different places, then you're going to look back and you're going to say, I wish I had times to really I wish I had the time just like back in the day when I could immerse myself in my books and just take my time to enjoy it. And so, oftentimes we look at these small deeds that we're doing. I'm just sitting in, my small apartment, just studying on my own. This is just the small stuff. I want to do the big stuff. No, don't think like that. Because the day that comes, when the day comes that you are off doing those bigger things, you're going to wish that you can go back to those days where you're doing smaller things. Never belittle those small deeds. Never belittle those days where you were somebody smaller. Just always think to yourself, what is it that I can be doing right now? How can I take advantage? Many people, young people might be thinking, I want to move out of my parents' house. I want to be out on my own. And inshallah, that's a great intention. But recognize that there are certain things that you can do right now because you're living in the comfort of your parents' home. Instead of complaining about it, being sour about it, being frustrated about it, just be happy. There are so many things that I can do that I won't have the opportunity to do. I'm going to take advantage of it right now. I'm going to embrace it right now. And then when that opportunity comes that I can move out, I will embrace that too. I'll be positive in both cases, in both circumstances. That's the attitude of the believer. Few quick final points, inshallah ta'ala. What are the benefits of doing the small deeds? One benefit is that it increases you in gratitude. Why? Because the person who pays attention to the little things, when you pay attention to the small opportunities you have to do good deeds, you also become more sharp in your eyes, more acute to what? To all these small blessings that you would normally overlook. And the Prophet ﷺ says in regards to this, نِعْمَتَانِ مَغْبُونٌ فِيهِمَا كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ الصِّحَّةُ وَالْفَرَاغُ. Two blessings which most people overlook, they are health and free time. So when you start to become the type of person who takes advantage of every small opportunity, hey, I'm healthy, I have some money, I have some time, I have some this, whatever it may be, I'm going to do a small deed. You become more attentive to these small opportunities, then you start becoming more attentive to these small blessings. Isn't it great that I'm healthy? Isn't it great that I have some free time? Isn't it great? And then you are more and more grateful to Allah. You say Alhamdulillah more, and Allah keeps increasing you in good because you are grateful. So this is one blessing, that it increases you in gratitude. Another one is that the small deeds are often the most sincere. What do I mean by this? The big deeds usually get noticed by people. When they get noticed by people, now your sincerity is wavering between for the sake of Allah and for the sake of the people that are praising you and saying, wow, look how great he is, how amazing he is. But when you do something small, it goes unnoticed. When you do something small, nobody's paying attention. And so when you do something small, it's not for anybody's approval, it's not for anybody's, to impress anyone, it is purely for the sake of Allah. That means it's the most sincere. So appreciate that, embrace that, hold on to those opportunities, those small deeds that nobody notices, and be grateful. Ya Allah, I know this is just for you. Why? Because nobody cares. Nobody's looking. Nobody's praising me. Nobody's patting me on the back. Nobody's saying any kind words. Oh, you're so generous, you're so kind, you're so righteous, you're so this. Nobody's saying a single thing. Why? Because it was small, unnoticed. That means it was purely sincere for the sake of Allah. So embrace that fact. And finally, we should remember that they leave the greatest memories. Oftentimes you'll hear people that become very old, when they look back on their lives, they say that when it comes to the small things, there's nothing greater. There's nothing bigger than the small things. There's nothing bigger than the small things. We should remember that. That when it comes to those little things, these are the things that you remember, these are the things that everybody remembers. All the little things, all the little opportunities you took to do a good deed, that's what really stands out in people's minds. So because of that fact, we should always appreciate whatever small deeds we can do, appreciate those opportunities, and take advantage of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and I'll close with this ayah, or these two ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. That whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who always try to do good, no matter how big or small it is. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وأقم الصلاة.